Shalom. Shalom. Brothers and sisters, how's everybody doing? My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular teaching, brothers and sisters, is a continuation from where we left off the other night, for those who remember on this particular channel. I want to, on a human level, say thank you to the people who subscribe to the channel, who share the videos, and who comment in relation to what we're talking about. Which brings me, brothers and sisters, to a particular point. You know, in life, right, there is an aspect of, quote, finding yourself. And what do I mean by that? One has to know where he or she fits in. You understand? And when one finds himself or herself in that particular regard, brothers and sisters, it's important to sit there and let that mentality marinate and duplicate within self. In other words, the aspect of growth. You understand? As we spoke on before, brothers and sisters, the fact that there were Israelites who were authors inspired me to become one. You understand? The fact, brothers and sisters, that there were people who were taking out the time to learn something in a particular field can motivate another person to want to do something. You understand? We can, brothers and sisters, be the actual aspect of one another's inspiration. You understand? So this is something, brothers and sisters, we want to point out for edification purposes and reasoning, right? Now, with that being said, you will find, brothers and sisters, when you're getting into something, there will be some who like it and some who dislike it. But if you understand certain things such as life, you understand? So, brothers and sisters, in this particular regard, so in this particular regard, brothers and sisters, if you are, as we pointed out in the past, led in a particular direction, right? It's very important, brothers and sisters, to never try to intercede that. You understand? There was a statement that was made that said, at times people try to read too deep. What can we glean, brothers and sisters, from that kind of stance? Should we, quote unquote, not read deep into certain things or understand certain things that's meant to be understood, or what understanding can be gleaned from it? You understand? Brothers and sisters, just as in the case with David and Michal, as we spoke on before, when the Most High is moving you in a particular direction, follow the path that he is setting out for you. David did. in regards, brothers and sisters, to what? Let me go out and slay this one that is taunting our people. You would notice, brothers and sisters, that the aspect of a mother is different than, say, a female who simply was sexually active. Sexual activity is what brings children. But when you become a mother, your mindset is different than just a female who has become sexually active. You understand? So when we hear or read the statement that says, well, some people might read things too deep, that's, brothers and sisters, how you become an author. In order for the step, stages, and degrees to become an author, to write a book, you have to think deep upon it. That's why, heaven forbid, there's a thing called writer's block. That's when your mind just stops and you can't write no more. It's no longer in that deep phase. So when you are, for instance, a mother, you don't take advice from the female once it comes to being a mother who's just simply sexually active. You understand? When you are trying to sit there and get a domain name out there and publications known out there, you, I promise, will look at Facebook as if just what it is to a great extent. It's just used to promote what you do outside of it. Just like they got Instagram for promotional purposes. Just like they got what's the other thing? LinkedIn for promotional purposes. Brothers and sisters, as we went over the week or so ago about the aspect of trying to influence people to become an author, when you become one, your mind will not be the same as the ideology that says, oh, some people try to look too deep into things. That's the energy that we do not need. When you read in the scriptures, in Psalms the 83rd chapter, it says the nations hold what? Crafty converse. When the Pharaoh in Egypt in Exodus says what? Let us deal wisely with them. But we tell one another, you trying to think too deep. Meanwhile, you got Exodus talking about the Pharaoh was saying, let's deal wisely with the house of Israel. They were thinking deep against us. The crafty converse that they hold, as you read in Psalms 83, is a deep concept to them. We are the only people who tell one another to not think deep or be deep or try to go in a particular subject. This is that crab in a barrel mentality, brothers and sisters. So now, when it says that the Most High directs one's steps, you don't let anyone sit there and sidetrack you from such. Whatever it is, be it from writing, speaking, bettering, teaching, learning, etc. Because you will find out that a teacher is still learning. This is why it behooves one to sit there and say to be open for constructive criticism, because there's constructive criticism and there is what is understood as, quote, hating. Let me give an example of the hating concept. You produce a work and someone who has not produced the same kind of work and will not even have a mind to support that kind of work will sit there and try to take what they call shots at it. That's the form of hating in one aspect. Like the female who's just simply sexually active talks against a woman who's there teaching and raising and being a parent to 2, 3 of her own children. What you need children for? They so bad. They da da da. That woman is the one that has that, in the layman terms, that hating spirit. That's not what we should sit there and condone, brothers and sisters. It says you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself, which means that you must love yourself. Proverbs 8, as we've discussed before, it says, I love those that love me. We understand. So, brothers and sisters, to be in Hebrew, for instance, the word amok, which is deep. Let's go, if we will, to Isaiah chapter 29, which is not on the list here, as you see in a PowerPoint, but let's go there. Isaiah chapter 29, verse 10. So we can see the concept for edification purposes, if we will. Isaiah chapter 29, verse 10. For the Most High have poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep. So don't let nobody tell you that our awakening is not supposed to be deep as well. Isaiah chapter 29, verse 10 says that our people have been put in a deep sleep. So when you hear the concepts, the ideologies, you understand. Well, some people try to think too deep. That's a person who's slumbering or just becoming awakened. They're not either fully asleep or fully awake. So they're not, quote, deep in anything per se. You understand? When you come out of a deep sleep, there's a lot of things you want to do that is deep. And that fire, that passion, that drive, that energy, that aura, you don't let nobody who doesn't have the same one that you got moving you in that direction to sit there and slander and remove you from your track in your place. The saying, Shamor Iskweha, mind your business, is a beautiful saying. Minding your business means that you are minding your business. There's nothing wrong with minding your business. You understand? Never, brothers and sisters, accept the disrespect that's shown in many, many, many cases. You understand? If what you is put or what you are putting out is not being reciprocated, stop giving it out. You understand? This is something we want to talk about and get on for edification purposes. Now, brothers and sisters, in this particular regard, again, giving honor and praise to the Most High, the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. We're going to continue in this. Israelites, learn some history, part 2. Last time, we spoke about the history regarding Assyria and Babylon to a great extent. And we're going to continue in that same vibe and taking the advice that I was given. Brothers and sisters, the presentations is not intended to go beyond an hour and a half. All right? For edification purposes. Ahaz, who was 12 descendants away from King David, was 32 years old when Israel was deported. Israel was taken by Shalmaneser V of Assyria. This is in the 8th century BCE. Let's read 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 32. 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 32. And it reads as follows. I'm sorry, 2 Kings. Sorry about that. 2 Kings 10. Second Kings chapter 10, verse 32. I'm sorry about that, brothers and sisters. And it says, in those days, the Most High began to cut Israel short, and Hazael smote them in all the coast of Israel, from Jordan eastward, all the land of Gilead, the Gadites and the Manassites, the Gadites and the Reubenites and the Manassites, from Aroer, which is by the river Arnon, even Gilead and Bashan. So when you read in that particular regard, you read, brothers and sisters, in regards about the tribe of Gad, the tribe of Reuben, and Manasseh. They were on the east side of the Jordan, as we explained in other presentations. Now, when it says that the Most High began to cut Israel short, in part, Israel did not have the mind to want to grow. They were doing what Jeremiah refers to as backsliding. And that's not a good move. You understand? So with that being the case, let's go to 2 Kings 15, verse 29. 2 Kings 15, verse 29. And it says this. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and took Ijon, and Abel Beth Maacah, and Janoah, and Kadesh, and Hazor, and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria. Brothers and sisters, so we see that there was the Gadites, the Reubenites, and the Manassites, and now the tribe of Naphtali that was taken into captivity, brothers and sisters. Now, 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 26, as you see there, reiterates what we just read in 2 Kings chapter 10. All right? Let's go on, if you will, to the next slide. Jeroboam and the matter with Sargon. Jeroboam reigned in Shechem. He was of the tribe of Ephraim. Beth El was 9.5 miles of Jerusalem. Sennacherib went against Judah in Lachish, taking 250,000 prisoners. Interesting that they estimated the estimated recorded number of blacks brought to the United States is, quote, only 500,000. Now, in the records, brothers and sisters, of Sennacherib, he recorded that he took 250,000 people of the southern kingdom of Judah into captivity. That's half of what they said was brought to what we call the United States during the slave trade. But we have to think, when they say only this, they're trying to marginalize the matter as if they can, quote unquote, not care about it. Oh, it was just only that. You understand? That is the mindset that will tell you, don't get too deep. Just stay right there where you are. Don't grow. You understand? Ahab of Israel with 10,000 soldiers and 2,000 war chariots in the battle of Karkar in the 9th century BCE. That, brothers and sisters, you can read about the battle of Karkar and the people that the guy Shalmaneser III spoke about having in his army. And you read about Ahab the Israelite. See, I remember one time on the Facebook community, somebody was saying to me that they are quite sure that Israelite was not mentioned by the Assyrians. So when a presentation was delivered and the aspect of the Battle of Karkar was mentioned, there was no reply or comment. There was no, okay, my friend, my brother, I'm going to check this out. There was what you call silence when that evidence was presented. That tells the person who's being silent, you came to debate or you came to try to stifle a particular matter and wind up, quote unquote, being shown something. You didn't expect that, perhaps, one way or the other. No, I've never seen that battle spelled as K-A-U. I've always seen it as Q-A-R, Q-A-R, or K-A-R, K-A-R. But that may be a variant spelling, all right, by saying the battle of K-A-U, K-A-U. But it's not really an English word. So, you know, the whole English lettering, like if I would have spelled Shalom, S-H-A-L-L-O-M, I'm not really wrong because it's not an English word. So there can't be a direct English correct spelling for a word that's not English. Omri built Samaria in the 9th century BCE. Samaria was conquered by Sargon in the 8th century BCE. Next slide. Sargon was the Assyrian king. For history lovers only. Let's go on, brothers and sisters. King Manasseh of Judah. It says, the Lord spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they would not pay heed. So the Lord brought against them the officers of the army of the king of Assyria, who took Manasseh captive in manacles, bound him in fetters, and led him off to Babylon. That's from the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 33 about Manasseh, the king of Judah. Now, the prism, which is a big stone kind of rock kind of thing that people wrote on in ancient days, of Isar-Hadon says the following. I called up the kings of the country of Hatti, which is the Hittites, and of the region on the other side of the river Euphrates, to wit, Balu, king of Tyre, Manasseh, Manasseh, king of Judah, Ayudi. That right there is from the record that Esarhaddon left. Now, why does this become important? Esarhaddon, as we're going to go over, conquered Egypt. Because many times, well, can you show any references of the Israelites outside of the Bible? Esarhaddon spoke about it. He spoke about the Israelites coming out of the tribe of Judah. So when you find people who quote, will tell you, well, don't be, you're trying to think too deep. Don't listen to that energy. I was a person who, when offered a free science class, rejected it. But I'm not going to tell somebody who has a passion in that not to get too deep. Why will I want to bring somebody to the position where I'm at when I could care less about what their passion is? You understand? This is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Assyria conquered Hamath in 717 BCE. That's the 8th century BCE. Assyria conquered Babylon in 689 BCE. Assyria conquered Egypt in 670 BCE. Let's go on, if you will, to the next slide. More notes for history lovers only. Uzziah of Judah is mentioned by Tiglath-Pileser. Ahaz of Judah is mentioned by Tiglath-Pileser. Josiah of Judah was slain by Necho, king of Egypt. Let's go to 2 Kings 24, verse 7. And it says the following. 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 7. And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt. Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem. The point to mention in verse 7, it says the king of Egypt, which was Necho of dynasty 26, came not again any more out of his land. For the king of Babylon, who was Nebuchadnezzar, had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river Euphrates all that pertained unto the king of Egypt. You read about Necho, king of Egypt, in the Bible. So when the people who don't want you to, quote, think deep, right, think that others don't think deep, made a challenge. If you can show me any Bible character's grave, I'll give you $1,000. Well, if that's the case, then all you got to do, and that's the thing that the guy, what's his name? Ray Higgins, who hates the Bible, he made that challenge. So all you got to do then is go to show where Pharaoh Necho is, and Ray Higgins owes you $1,000. You understand? See, the people who told, quote unquote, don't think deep, they're not thinking, well, Necho is mentioned in the Bible. That becomes the fact that he is now part of the biblical characters. So when you ask brothers and sisters, if you can show a grave of anybody that's from the Bible, all you got to do is show them the tomb of Necho Rehemre II of dynasty 26 of Egypt. It's not too hard to figure out. Did Ray Higgins pay anybody the $1,000 he spoke on? Let's go on, if you will, and speak on the part on the far right-hand side. Nebuchadnezzar's conquest. Nineveh which is the capital of Assyria, in the year 609 BCE, called Chemesh. In that particular battle, mentioned in the Bible and in secular history, in 605 BCE, Ashur, which was a major city in Assyria, in 614 BCE, Jerusalem, in 597 BCE. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 1. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 1. It says, "Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river Chebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of Elohim. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's captivity, the word of Yah came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans, by the river Chebar, and the hand of Yah was there upon him." King Jehoiakim was the grandson of King Josiah. You understand? And he's mentioned inside, as we went over before, in a video called Israelites in Archaeology. You can subscribe to the channel, please, and check out the video, Israelites in Archaeology, right? Where Jehoiakim is mentioned. We went over before that you are a representative that your parents existed. So, brothers and sisters, if Jehoiakim has existence, then how can we say that his parents did not have any existence? See, that is the crafty converse that they have held to try to cut the name of Israel off. That's how you know what is referred to as the Illuminati runs what you call the conscious community. You understand? Because there are certain things that they just do not care to really ever sit there and talk about. As we've gone over before, who you are not allowed to speak against is who is in control. Like we knew as sons, we can't go against the rules of the mother or the father in your family. Just like in a conscious community, they don't sit there and speak against the so-called Jewish man. I've asked before, why do you say that what you call the Middle East is part of Africa, yet you are okay saying that we are Africans, but then you don't want to lay claim to the land of Israel, which by default being in the Middle East will be part of the landmass that belongs to you. Why are you giving that up to Finkelstein and citing him as a source? That would be like trying to take the United Arab Republic, aka Egypt, after the aspect of the Arabs running over Egypt in the 7th century AD or 7th century CE, and using the Arabs as a catalyst of how Egypt was and should have been. It's the same thing the conscious community does when they take Mr. Finkelstein and try to say that must have been the ancient house of Israel. That's part of the crafty converse that has been held. You understand? Next slide, please. Josephus on the matter. Antiquities, Book 10. Now the city was taken on the 9th day of the 4th month, in the 11th year of the reign of Zedekiah. They were indeed only generals of the king of Babylon, to whom Nebuchadnezzar committed the care of the siege, for he abode himself in the city of Riblah. Now the temple was burnt 470 years, 6 months and 10 days after it was built. It was then 1,062 years, 6 months and 10 days from the departure of Egypt. And from the deluge to the destruction of the temple, the whole interval was 1,957 years, 6 months and 10 days. But from the generation of Adam until this befell the temple, there were 3,513 years, 6 months and 10 days. So great was the number of the years hereto belonging, and what actions were done during those years we have particularly stated. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Which we just read came from the book of Josephus. Next slide. The matter with Cyrus and Xerxes. Cyrus defeated the Medes in the 6th century BCE. Babylon was scared of Cyrus when the Medes were defeated. In the 6th century, defeated Croesus of Lydia and the Greek islands. Nabonidus of Babylon surrendered to Goberus of Persia. Ahasuerus is Xerxes. The same is Kashayasha, who ruled in the 5th century BCE. So we can get an understanding of what we're talking about when we speak of the Medes and the Persians. These are some of the names you may want to look up. Next slide. Cyrus, Persia's rise. Darius, Persia's loss. Cyrus, 559 to 529 BCE. Darius, the first. 522 to 586 BCE. Can anybody figure out who was between Cyrus and Darius the first? Can anybody figure out who was between Cyrus, who was not in power after 529 BCE, and Darius the first, who was in power starting at 522 BCE? Can anybody figure out what happened between those years, or who was the person that's not mentioned there? Brothers and sisters, we then see after Darius, Xerxes, who was called Ahasuerus and Esther. And you have Artaxerxes the first, Longimanus, mentioned in Nehemiah 2 and Ezra chapter 7. Correct, my sister. Correct, my sister. It was Cambyses. Cambyses is the person between Cyrus and Darius. Darius III, Codomanus, defeated by Alexander the Greek. So these are things you may want to look up in your own time for edification purposes. Next slide. More, but with Madai. Madai, Hebrew and Assyrian for Medes. The Medes paid tribute to Shalmaneser II in the 9th century BCE. Joash was king in Judah, and Jehu was king in Israel at that time. In 715 and 713 BCE, Sargon received tribute from Median and other rulers from different nations. The Medes were subject to the Assyrians until the second half of the 7th century BCE. Dosis, that's how they told me to pronounce it in college, of the Medes, founded Ecbatana and unified the country. Protis, Dosis' son, subjugated the Persians. Protis, the Median ruler, was succeeded by XERXES I. He was aligned with Nabopolassar of Babylon. So you had the Medes and the Persians who were at odds with each other at that time. And Nabopolassar is the father of the famous Nebuchadnezzar that we read of in history. So we can see how this history links up one with another. All right? Next slide. The Israelites addressed an ancient matter. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 13, if we will. We are in Isaiah chapter 13. And it says the following. Verse 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. That is talking about the Medes that's going to go up against the people of Babylon. Isaiah chapter 21, verse 1. And it reads as follows. The burden of the desert of the sea, as whirlwinds in the south pass through, so it cometh from the desert, from a terrible land. A grievous vision is declared unto me. The treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously, and the spoiler spoilers. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media. All the sign thereof have I made to cease. So with that, brothers and sisters, go up, O Elam. Can anybody type in who Elam is? Who is Elam when you're reading right here in Isaiah chapter 21? All right. This is talking about, as it says, go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media. All the sign thereof have I made to cease. So I'm asking, yes, thank you, my sister. Persia. That's who Elam is. Ancient Persia was in the land that we currently call Iran of today. Babylon is in the southern part of what we call Iraq today. All right? So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Let's go, if we will, to Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 25. I was saying that Iran, modern Iran, is the ancient Persia. Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 25. And it says this. All the kings of Zimri, and all the kings of Elam, and all the kings of the Medes. Elam, as we pointed out, ancient Persia. Let's go to Jeremiah 51, verse 11. so we can clarify what we're talking about for edification purposes. Jeremiah 51 verse 11. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields, the Most High hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. For his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Most High, the vengeance of his temple. Media, brothers and sisters, the Medes were in part responsible on the war aspect for the defeat of Babylon. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 28. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes and captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. The Medes, brothers and sisters, we want to point out, is the same Medes that we read of in history, that we read of in the scriptures, right? Next slide. Somebody asks, Susa is there too. Yes, it is. The Medes and the Persians. Let's go to Daniel chapter 8, verse 20. Daniel, the 8th chapter, verse 20 says, the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. So the Medes and the Persians, by the time they came in contact with the house of Israel, all right, is after the situation that happened with Cyrus and the Medes. So that's why in the Israelite record, you read the Persians and the Medes and the Persians as one kingdom. They were not one people, but they were one kingdom. The people of the Medes come from the people line of Japhet through his son Madai. And Elam is from the line of Shem. So the Medo-Persian or the Persian Median Empire is a Shemitic / Japhetic empire. You understand? So that's something we want to point out for edification purposes. Let's go to Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. And it says this. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should have been over the whole kingdom. Let's go to the book of Zechariah, if we will. Zechariah chapter 1, verse 1. And it says this. In the 8th year, and the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Most High unto Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, the son of Edo, the prophet, saying, Zechariah was prophesying during the era of the Medo-Persian Empire. Cyrus was the founder of the Persian Empire. He was the son of Cambyses I of the Achaemenid dynasty or the Achaemenid family. So, brothers and sisters, we can see how the Israelites in history, what they was doing and what was going on among the Israelites with the rise of the great kingdoms, such as Babylon, such as Assyria, such as after Babylon being Medo-Persia. And the next time we do this presentation, all right, it's going to be scheduled for next week. right? We'll get more so after the Medo-Persian Empire. Let's go on, if you will, to the next slide. For the history lovers, let's go. The Persians lost to the Greeks. Media was given later to the Seleucids. The Parthians had it after the Seleucids. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over all Greece. And he made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. Alexander had over 15 conquered places in the earth. You understand? When you read about Alexander meeting the Israelites in the book of Josephus, it says that Alexander was met by the Levites in his day and was told by the Levites that Alexander was prophesied to come at one time. And brothers and sisters, when you look at the movie Alexander by, I think it's Oliver Stone, correct me if I'm wrong, there are two places that he does not show on a map in that movie that came out in 2005 called Alexander. The two places on the map that he doesn't show by name is Ethiopia and Jerusalem. For whatever reason, he doesn't show it. Of course, we deep down know why. You understand? In the book I'm coming out with a re-upload of the book Egypt Talk and Writing, right? We see that the Greeks conquered and controlled the lands that the Persians had ruled over. You understand? Let's continue. Yes, what we just read came out of the book of Maccabees. Lulu.com. This book here contains much more information on the subject. You can get this book, brothers and sisters, by going to Lulu.com. And you will see when you type in Yeshaya Yisrael, or you can just type in the author, that is to say, pardon me, the authored book, Deuteronomy 28, on Lulu.com, and you can get that book, which has a lot of information in what we're talking about. All right? I'm making changes in my life. So if you don't hear from me, then you are one of them. That's a meme I got from online. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 7. What does it say? We are in the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 7. Go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceiveth not in him the lips of knowledge. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 10. And it says this. Cast out the scorner, and contention shall go out. Yea, strife and reproach shall cease. Giving honor and praise unto Yah, the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. That is the presentation for Israelites. Learn some history, part 2. Any questions, any comments, please feel free to ask regarding this particular presentation. 908-587-4841. I'm going to ask, not blowing nobody's name up, but the brother Joel, whenever you get the chance, give me a call tomorrow if you're free to do so, my brother. All right, so we could talk. All right, as brethren and as men about a particular subject and project I want to deal with regarding these PowerPoints and information. All right, the point I want to collab is I can do part, the brother can do part. That's what I'm. So there won't be no big surprise. Well, what do you want me to call you for? I want to start collabing, if that's a word, or doing PowerPoint presentations with other brothers online, with other sisters online. So it won't just be me talking, me talking, me talking. It could be Yeshaya, the next person, Yeshaya, the next person, the next person. So my brother, give me a call when you can. Hopefully you can tomorrow, any given time. 908-587-4841. All right. This is the particular presentation. For those familiar with Hebrew, you know what this means. Sof Hu. The end. It is. The presentation is completed for this part. Stay tuned for next week when there will be a part 3. The Israelites. Learn some history, part 3. Shalom.